Hey, what's up, everyone? Morey Croson here, and today we're going to be talking about back extension when it comes to sprinting. We're going to start the video right now. This is the newest edition of the Performance Lab. Reach your individual goals. You don't want to just talk about straight line speed. We also want to talk about your ability to be quick. We break down your video. Let's make you into the quarterback I know you can become. All right, so we've gone into a lot of different things when it comes to being able to run faster, and I've really started to realize lately that getting into back extension is really important because there's a lot of people that just quite simply do not have the extension in the back necessary to be able to run fast. And I think a lot of that ends up coming from just a lot more of a like seated culture, right? You're sitting for a long period of time. And what that does is that ends up putting a lot more of tightness within like the hip flexors, and you do that over extended period of time, and now you're going to be a little bit more susceptible to just not having the same ability to access within that low back. So today we're going to go over some exercises to help you maintain back extension, keep back extension, and really be able to continue to run fast, right? So first, you can see what I have set up here with the cable. So there's like two little cables here. You could do this with just like a regular band too. You don't have to have this cable set up. But the main thing that you want to be able to understand here is just being able to really pull all the way back. And I do this in a variety of different ways. I'll maintain my spine in a neutral position and put more focus on the leg cycle. I will obviously, this one I'm kind of leaning forward here and really putting a big emphasis on getting extension, not only through the lower back, but also through the hip as well. And that's one of the reasons why it's really important to be able to have the necessary back extension, is that will help you in being able to properly utilize and access the hip extensors, which are like the hamstrings and the glutes, which are critical when it comes to running faster. So when you see me going back here, I'm really putting an emphasis on activating through really more of the hamstring instead of putting as much focus on like a full leg cycle. Here, I'm just pushing back. Again, this is going to help me in being able to better access my lower back, as well as being able to or utilize the muscles within my lower back. And here's another one where really I want to be able to isolate or be able to feel the improvement in my lumbar spine. If you are limited in your lumbar spine, then you might end up having some inability to access proper ranges within the hip. You might end up having some cramping as you go into the full range within the hip, right? So as you get that foot higher and higher up, I have a weight with this. You don't have to have a weight with it, but again, we're just going over some things to be able to just help you in being able to get plenty of range of motion within that lower back. Here, I'm just going through my scorpion. So you can see I'm getting my foot all the way up to my hand here, or as close to my hand as I can. You know, as you go through that, you can maybe get a little bit more range of motion there. But you can see this is putting a stretch on the hip flexor, opening up through the hip flexor. I really want to be able to keep my chest down the best that I can. This is a great exercise for quarterbacks as well. But really being able to create that kind of hip and shoulder separation. If I don't have the ability to open up within my hip flexors, and a lot of times the hip flexors will tighten up because of an inability to access the back extensors or the hip extensors, right? So if you have a lot of tightness, you could even have back problems. There's people that have back problems right now that are really suffering because of how locked up their hip flexors are. It's not even like their back necessarily. It's more that their hip flexors are so locked up that it creates a lot of pull within their spine, which is what creates the pain within the back. And there's a lot of times where, you know, you could just go and like roll out or release like your psoas, which is a hip flexor, and end up releasing that lumbar spine and being able to get better access here. Here's kind of a different one here. So you can see I'm finagling myself up onto the stability ball. I have the bench locked into a angle here. I'm just going all the way up, all the way down within my legs, right? Really just trying to be able to work and access the range within that lumbar spine. And again, really good exercise to be able to really feel and strengthen those muscles within the lower back. This one's probably, I think, the most common that I have people do and that I do myself is just a Superman exercise. So I'm lifting here, okay? We want to be able to get plenty of height within our upper back, within our head, within our arms, as well as being able to get height within the knees and within the feet. You should be able to hold this as well, and you should even be squeezing within the glutes as you are getting to this range. This gives you the ability to fully open up within your sprinting. So the big thing that the back extensors are important for is stride length. And so if you're not able to fully access those muscles, now you're not going to be able to have the same amount of distance per step, which one of the things that I'll tell people a lot is, like, if you compare, let's say for a 40-yard dash, somebody that is taking 21 steps in comparison to 19 steps, same height, same weight, everything is the same except the amount of steps that they take. What you would obviously predict, or you would think, I'd say 9 times out of 10, at least, maybe even 99 times out of 100, the person that is taking the least amount of steps to be able to cover that distance is going to run the best time, right? So the person that can cover 40 yards in 19 steps in comparison to 21 steps is going to be able to run a faster 40, or same thing with the 100, same thing with the 60. So being able to understand stride length is critical. And again, a lot of that ends up going into your range of motion within the lower back. Here, I'm just doing like an overhead squat. So this is going to end up really strengthening more of like my mid back here, creating extension within the mid back. But there are people that are not able to properly access their lumbar spine because of the dysfunction that is happening within the mid back. So I do think this is important as well. And just going through an overhead squat, having good range of motion within the ankles, having good range of motion within the hips is also an important part of being able to run fast and accelerate, decelerate, things that are going to be important for overall athletic performance. And then we have the single leg cycle, right? So this, I'm just using a treadmill. You could do this in a variety of ways as well, right? So we could do drills to be able to work on just accessing or just utilizing that lower back. I'm having to force it to actually go, having to force the treadmill to move, right? So this is going to help me keep my lower back strong. It's going to help me be able to correlate between my calves, within my hamstrings, within my glutes, within my low back. So, part of it is going to be strengthening the muscles. And then another part of it is going to be coordinating it into your sprint. I like single leg cycles or single leg cycle type drills to be able to help you, because, you could do this. You don't have to have a treadmill. You could just do like a wall drill where you have your hand up against the wall and just working on your pull and your single leg cycle and doing a lot of the same type of work where you're really connecting from a neuromuscular standpoint into what it is that you should be looking for, or what it is you should be feeling when you're sprinting. Or you could even jog, right? You could even jog and go through some sprints. But I do recommend, after doing these types of lower back exercises, just like the same thing with hip flexor exercises, hamstring exercises, core exercises, if you're doing something specific that you want to be able to integrate into your sprinting, I think it's good to be able to do either some type of cycling or some type of running to be able to really integrate it into your neurological pattern and really your neuromuscular patterns. So then your body and your brain understand how to be able to better use that muscle and more effectively use that muscle to run faster.